We'll step across here into the evisceration room. Once again, this is where the birds would come in here. This is our parasitic acid bath. Our hawk or hanger will stand right here, he or she, and they will do a quick visual inspection of the bird, make sure the pins are removed, make sure the crop has been opened, the oil gland has been removed, and the bird's ready to go on the line. He'll then take the birds and he hangs them, hocks this way, and he'll take the bird's head and lay the bird's head right there. So the bird ends up with his look back this way and his head coming around this way and both legs hooked up there. The first guy in the lineup here will use this here vent gun. This gun here opens the vent up on the bird, drills the vent out, and it pulls back with a vacuum to get the vent out of the bird. Second person in the line opens the product. They'll use these scissors here to clip the bird open as it goes by him. Third person in the line stands on this platform. He will draw the entrails out of the bird, draw the viscera out. They will pull the viscera and the heart and liver out and hang it off the right hand side of the bird. This person is our USDA inspector in this position. The bird will come by, he'll inspect the bird for pathology, he'll inspect the entrail, make sure the liver, make the bird don't have a fever. He'll be looking for broken bones, he'll be looking for bruising. Next to the USDA inspector is the trimmer. The trimmer is here to do what the USDA inspector tells them to cut off. If the USDA tells them you have to remove that wing, it has an old bruise on it, or that leg has an affected spot, or you may tell them to throw the whole bird out in the condom barrels. So whatever the USDA inspector tells them is unfit for human consumption, it is removed from the line at this point. This table here is where the viscera will actually be removed. After USDA has inspected it, this person will remove the viscera and harvest the gizzard, the liver, and the heart at this point. This station here is a vacuum area where we remove the lungs out of the birds as they come by. This will remove the kidneys and the lungs, or anything that's left in the back cavity of the carcass. Next person on the line will remove the crop. They will, after the man gets done vacuuming out the lungs and the kidneys and everything in the back, he will drop the head back down out of the shackle, so the bird will be hanging just by its feet at that point. And this person will remove the crop out of the bird. Next person in line will use a hot cutter, and they'll remove the head of the carcass, and then they'll remove the neck from at the shoulders. From there, the bird goes into our wash cabinet, which is also being treated with parasitic acid at 160 parts per million, roughly. All water spigots in here also have parasitic acid to it, so anytime that somebody needs to clean something, they automatically have that organic acid going on there to kill any bacteria that may have accumulated. This point here is where our pre-grader works. At this point it's a she, but she inspects the birds as they come out of the bird wash, make sure that all the dressing standards have been met, that the feathers have been removed, the trachea is no trachea, that the trimming's been done properly, whatever it needs to be, that the bird's ready to go into the packaging area. If it is not completely ready, she will leave it back on the line and send it back through all the stations until they have figured out, what they need to do to fix that product. This station here is the third inspection the birds go through. They've been inspected as they come off that picker table. They've been inspected by the USDA, and this is the third time they get inspected. Oh, when they get done doing the inspection, they hand them through the windows, whether they're an A or a B, to buggies on the other side. This room is just a chilled room where we can hold product if necessary for slapping the product out, and while we're processing, if you need to put something in the refrigerated area, this room we run a refrigeration. On the other side of this wall is where the pre-grader was standing. These totes here will be lined up, and the birds will be thrown into whichever totes for parts missing and bees or A-grade birds. From there, they wheel these totes to the end of this table. This table here is the fourth time the bird will be inspected to see whether it truly is an A. The AMS grader will stand here, or a plant grader will stand here also. They sort the birds from A to B, the parts missing, and hand it down to whichever site is packaging those particular birds that day. A-grade bird, for instance, will come down this side. This person here will probably return the giblets into the bird that they have harvested out of there and has washed at the sink. And the bag, let's put the giblet bag in, they'll put a hot lock on the bird. Next person will bag that bird in the appropriate bag and set it off the edge here. There's a person on each side of this here machine. It's a multi-back machine. They will take the birds, they will stack them in here. This is a heat bar that seals them. You can put 4 large capons in here or 8 smaller birds. They will seal it, the machine will automatically start, vacuum pack and seal the bird. When the bird's sealed, the machine will release, and then by that time they'll have this side full, they'll swing the machine back over and seal this side. While this side is sealing, and these birds have already been sealed, they'll remove these birds and place them on these hot water tanks. These tanks can be filled with hot water. They have an automatic shut-off valve in them, or an inlet valve, where after you put the birds on there in the shrink film, you'll step on that pedal, it'll drop the birds in for the appropriate amount of time. They come up, the birds will be packaged nice and tight. At this station here is where they're counting all the birds coming through and then place them in the appropriate racks. We'll have a rack stacked along the wall, and they will sort the birds off for size and for grade. Any additional labels that need to be applied will be applied at this table here. The racks are full. These racks will hold the birds. They'll space off from each other. They'll put 4 to 8 birds per rack depending on the size of them. They will wheel all these racks into the freezer area. This room here is a glass freezer. It runs at 20 below zero with a 10-mile-an-hour wind. It brings the birds down in probably 2 to 3 hours. A lot of times the smaller birds will be at below 40 degrees. Even an 8-pound bird will have below 40 degrees in about 3.5 to 4 hours. USDA requires you to have 4 pounds less birds down in 4 hours, 6 less than 6, and 8 in 8 hours. About 8 hours above or 8 hours or less. So we can really pull our birds down fast at this point. After the birds are frozen or chilled completely, they'll bring them out here. This is their boxing area. They'll place boxes on the strappers. They will fill the cart with the product, stick around a reserve scale, print the label of the box, and bring them over here and place them on a pallet on our pallet rack. Of course, you'll build our pallet till it's full here. The machine will wrap the pallet tight with shrink wrap for you. There, they'll wheel them off and place them in the freezer. Once the pallets are wrapped, labeled, ready to go, and we're given a pallet number and a location area that we know where they're at, and they'll be recorded in the inventory and stay here and wait to either be shipped to their distributor, or they'll go up to a cold storage unit up in Minnesota to be held until we can get a full semi-load together to ship them. Here's an example of a shrink wrap package. Small capon. This is restaurant style. A sample of an 8-piece cut-up Capon package. Here's a sample of a holiday bird packed and netted and ready to go to the grocery store. So you see Capon wrapped like that, that's what you want to buy. After the birds have been recorded in inventory, we have one load dock at this point where we will back our trucks up to and we'll load our product out and send it to its destination.